We're back.
And we're back.
No, that's not how it goes.
How's it go?
Guess who's back? Back. You're from fucking Detroit and you don't even...
That's not the song I'm trying to sing.
What song are you trying to sing?
I don't even remember now because you've yelled at me.
Do you have performance anxiety or something, bro?
What?
Do you like have like a issue when someone yells at you? You're like under pressure, you just fucking crumble?
Not about
Is
the
that
pressure.
What's going on?
It's about you being an asshole. I don't like assholes.
I am what I eat. We're
What?
back, motherfuckers.
Wait a minute.
Episode 25 of the
This
PNA
is like-
Cast podcast.
Are we going to call this like 25A? Or...
No, this is 25. We're just
Oh.
going to continue to add them up, make our numbers look
Seriously?
good. This is going to be a bonus episode for you guys because we missed last week and we wanted to get that podcast out right before UFC 230 so you guys can get our picks, get our breakdown of each fight, I guess you could say, even though it's pretty much me breaking everything down and Donald just sitting there finger popping his asshole.
That's not what I was doing.
And we even brought a guest, Ikoi from the MMA Reaction Podcast. So he came on, me and him talked MMA, Dalton...
I chimed in. I made jokes.
He
I'm here.
finger-popped.
I'm the comedic. I'm the comedic relief in this episode because these guys know way more than I do, and it's a very detailed MMA podcast.
Yeah, so tune in.
Cars just driving to each house, dropping their kids off. They run to the door, run back to the car. Next house.
Jesus fucking Christ, that's
Yeah.
not trunk or treating at all.
I hope not. Don't do that, people. That's just not Halloween.
Jump right in the shit.
Maybe don't call the fans motherfuckers. You know, be nice to people.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm going to take your advice.
Oh, okay.
Ready? What's up, motherfuckers? We are back. Episode 25 of the PNA Cast podcast, and we have a special guest, Ikoi from the MMA Reaction Podcast, and we're here to talk about UFC 230.
Yeah, he's a very special guest. Someone who offers a fresh insight to the MMA world. So, you know, you can stop listening to Nick for like 10 seconds at a time. It's really nice. Trust me, you guys are going to love it. We talked with him before. I believe it was on a UFC card before the Conor Khabib fight. So, definitely good to have him back. E, how you doing?
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Pretty good, man, for the most part. Looking forward to 230.
Mm-hmm.
But only primarily just for Derek Lewis.
That's it? That's the only reason?
I mean, honestly, what else is there?
Israel Adesanya is the one thing.
Yeah, I don't like that guy that much. I know that. I know that's listen, I know that's blasphemy, but there's something about him that just I don't like. I would love to see Derek Brunson pound his face in.
Ooh,
Wow.
Okay. I have a feeling we're going to get a little, things are going to get a little interesting here.
Interesting. But first, how was your Halloween?
Oh, it was lame for the most part.
Was it? Did you take your kids
Yeah,
out
man.
or
I
anything?
I just stayed home and gave kids candy.
Nice.
Was there like a lot of kids out in your area? Like in Michigan around like like Metro Detroit, it's not nearly how
Well, first of all,
as busy as it
it
used
was
to be.
raining and freezing as well.
No, it wasn't.
It
When we
wasn't?
actually went trick or treating, it was actually nice. It wasn't raining at
shit.
all.
Okay.
Yeah, but like back when we were kids, I remember I would fucking get like 3 fucking pillowcases full of candy with my fat ass, and I'd be in heaven. Like that was my goal for the year, was to just stock up on that shit. But like nowadays, like there's like 3 houses on a block that is like giving out candy. I don't know, it's weird. Is it like that in your area too?
Well, I live in Washington, so about October is when the weather gets real wet and cold. So that's a factor right away. But I think mostly parents are terrified of the neighborhoods anymore. Parents think that their kids are going to get kidnapped immediately. And like you, Nick, when I was a kid, man, I would leave my house at like 6 or 7. I wouldn't come home until I had a ridiculous amount of candy.
I remember like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock is when we come in. Now it's like the curfew's like 8 p.m. on Halloween.
Yeah.
At 7 p.m. I stopped handing out candy, and I got
seriously?
nobody else at my door. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I guess it is what it is. You can't really change it right now, but it's unfortunate. I heard like the trunk or treating is super popular. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Where people just
Yeah, I've heard
drive?
that.
No, what? People just drive?
I heard there was a lot of people, like lines of cars just driving to each house, dropping their kids off. They run to the door, run back to the car, next house.
Jesus fucking Christ. That's
Yeah.
not trunk or treating at all.
I hope not. Don't do that, people. That's just not Halloween. Just buy candy.
Trunk or treating is like you got like a big parking lot or like a big area and you got a whole bunch of members of like a union or it's like a gathering, churches or whatever.
Sure.
And you park your cars and you put your candy in your trunks. So then the kids are in like a safe area and like a secluded area. So there's like everyone there kind of knows each other. So there's no bullshit. And then the kids can get candy and everyone's like cool with it.
That's not a bad idea. It might be kind of hard to get that group together just in general. But
Well, I work for Ford and like they have a union one. And last year they had over 900 kids that went there. But I was like, damn. But there's something about going door to door and like.
Did you say 900?
Yeah,
Significantly
That's
more than I was
insane.
expecting. I was expecting like 30 people just on like tailgating or something, except with candy.
no, kids don't play when it comes to their candy.
No
dude.
kidding. I clearly did Halloween wrong. You guys got a lot more loot than I did.
Yeah, and I was fucking poor growing up, so I was Scream for like 8 years in a row. Gotta do what you gotta do, bro.
Rough times.
You gotta eat, man.
Oh
That's
yeah,
true.
lots of sugar.
Speaking of gotta eat, I just want to talk about Derek Lewis, honestly, because he's the funniest person in the world. Maybe not in the world, but
He's one of the funniest
funniest
people.
heavyweights?
Oh yeah, easily.
Easily.
Oh, he's easy top 3 favorite fighters of all time in the history of MMA for me. Just his personality.
Yeah. I fell in love with him after he knocked out Travis Brown, and he was like, "Where's
Yep,
Ronda
yep.
Rousey's fine ass at?"
Was that the one when he almost shit his pants and he talked about that at the end where he's like,
Yeah.
well, I just didn't want to shit myself.
Yeah, that is that one, but that's not the case. He for real was hurt, and he's just funny. He don't like to give people credit for the damage and all that, but that's all good. And also, I listened to DC talk about Derek Lewis, and he was saying he's very smart. He knows how to play games with people, and he thinks that that's part of his his mental game, where if he's trying to crouch down or if he's looking exhausted in that. DC thinks that it's just there's something to it. Like he says he works out 30 minutes a day. He goes, that's bullshit. He works out way harder than that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. He looks like he's in shape. He looks leaned for this fight compared to the past few fights.
Yeah, it's true. And meanwhile, Daniel Cormier is like eating pastries and shit. People ask him why. He's like, I'm fighting a heavyweight. Yeah.
He's just happy.
He's very relaxed.
It's true.
He's very, very relaxed. I was a little concerned because I'm watching the first couple of these embeddeds, and he looks a little too relaxed and he's a little, I don't want to say full of himself because he deserves every accolade he gives himself, but he's been giving himself a lot of accolades. I'm just concerned that maybe he's not taking Lewis seriously at all.
I can see that. Maybe he's spent too much time on the green grass, and then, you know,
man.
someone like Derek Lewis comes in, you might ruin that vision real quick.
Yeah, dude. How dope would that be if Derek just
I don't
slaughters
know
him?
if dope is the word that
I'd be heartbroken for DC, honestly. DC's my guy. But I was concerned for him too after hearing him on Ariel Helwani's podcast and just seeing just how relaxed and calm he is, and he brought his family with him, which I guess it's to each fighter their own, but to me, you gotta get in a mental state. You gotta get ready for a fight. And I've seen DC's videos behind the scenes, and he's getting pumped up for fights, and he's just walking throughout the locker room. I'm gonna beat that motherfucker's ass, just going crazy. And I don't think you can necessarily get in that state of mind if you have your kids there.
Sure.
You gotta scare your kid, yeah.
Yeah. So I was worried. I am worried about that as well. But on the same token, I've seen other interviews where he talks about a lot of in-depth shit with Derek Lewis. He knows that he's won 9 of his past 10. He knows how he's won them, and he was talking about how he just benches people off of him, and he was talking about how good his ground game is and it's underrated. And he sounds like he's not taking it for granted, but he's saying the right things, but his actions are kind of speaking differently. So I guess we'll see.
I think that's a really good way to put it.
He's at the end of the day, DC's a professional. He's a professional professionals. He has been competing for God knows how long. So I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I guess we'll find out if he just gets knocked the fuck out in the first round or something.
It's not like
that.
he's not working hard. In the embedded, you can see his workouts, the I don't know what they're called, the jumps in the pool. I was getting tired just fucking watching him do it.
Yeah, man.
It was ridiculous. So, I mean, it's hard not to give the edge to Daniel Cormier just based on his previous accolades, how athletic he is, his professionalism for sure.
Well, yeah.
But
well,
I think you're right. If Daniel loses, it'll only be one way. If Lewis loses, it'll be any way Daniel wants it to be.
Right.
Anyway.
It's crazy that I don't know if you know this, Derek Lewis has never been finished in the UFC. I don't know about non-UFC, but as far as in the UFC, he's never been finished. His only loss was a decision loss. And I was watching the forget what it's fucking called, but Dan Hardy, how he breaks down fights and that.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how strong Derek Lewis is. He'll have he had Gabriel Gonzaga on his back. He had both hooks in. Gabriel did. He's pretty sure he's a black belt. He's either a black belt or a brown
for
belt.
sure he is. Yeah.
And you got a big motherfucker like Gabriel on your back, and the hook's in. It's not good. Typically, it's not good news. But Derek Lewis is just so goddamn strong. He just shook him off him. Got up. He had him literally like carrying like a backpack, flung him off him, and just fucking started ground and pounding him. And another fun note is Derek Lewis has the most ground pound strikes in heavyweight history, which I thought was shocking.
Damn.
That is shocking.
I would have never said that.
Yeah, but apparently that's the case. So he's underrated on the ground for sure. But if there's anybody that can control Derek Lewis on the ground, it's DC. I don't think he's going to control him in the first round because Derek Lewis is going to be so strong. And Derek Lewis even said himself in a few interviews that he, like, you guys know my game plan. I'm going to go out there swinging. I'm going to try to take his head off. And they like asked for a prediction. He goes, when I'm sick of getting my ass kicked, I'll probably figure out something. Which that's what he does. Almost all of his wins are comeback wins.
Yeah.
So, I mean, fuck.
If it works.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But I think DC can definitely be the first guy to finish Lewis. I don't see it going 5 rounds at all. If it, like, you see how exhausted Ngannou was with Stipe and how he could barely even move in those 5 in the 4th, 5th round. I think DC will have enough cardio to finish Derek Lewis in those rounds, opposed to Stipe, who was just enough cardio to show that he was superior. DC's the king of that shit. He's the king of the grind.
It's true. So it's going to be basically a battle of cardio?
I think Derek Lewis, like Equal was saying, he has one way to win. It's knockout. And if he doesn't get it in the first couple rounds, he's going to be in trouble. That
but
being
then you
said, well, go ahead.
Sorry. But then you look at the Volkov fight, and he was that the third round at like 450 something.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's no time left.
That's one thing. He has heart like a motherfucker. You can't take that away from him.
Yeah, some fighters are athletic and they're fighters or they have heart. Sorry, and some of them are all three. Derek is, he's athletic, he's a fighter, and he has heart.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
He's not that athletic.
He's pretty athletic. You were explaining. Would you say that superior strength in all your opponents is
he's
not
a
athletic?
Strong, big motherfucker.
But he's a strong motherfucker.
Don't expect him to
he's
go
not
running
fleet
zigzag.
of foot or anything. He's not going to be jumping around. He's not going to jump over the octagon and start beating up Dylan Dennis or anything. But
oh shit, that'd be hilarious.
That would be scary. I'd be scared. Can you imagine if he does like the eagle stomp like Khabib?
Oh,
that's the most frightening thing I've ever pictured.
He would kill somebody.
He probably wouldn't miss.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard. He did something. Okay, so we get a little ahead of ourselves. I kind of dove us right into the main event there.
There's still
a few other
fights on here. What did you think of the Nate Diaz Dustin Poirier scandal that went on?
It's very disappointing that Nate Diaz is so hard to work with.
Yeah, that's true.
Dude, the guy loves to just be a thorn. Because I think he came off of Tough 4. I think he won Tough 4 because I think he triangled Maynard.
Yeah, he finished Maynard in the preliminary rounds. He fought I forget his fucking name, Manny Gambarian, for the tough final, and Manny got injured, so he won via stoppage. But Manny was low key like winning the fight because he was a wrestler, so he was like, but obviously he's not the superior MMA mixed martial artist. No. But yeah, you're right, and Nate is very hard to work with.
Gosh, man, well, I thought he was the future of the lightweight division. At that time, I was like, this guy's going to come in. He's not his brother. Because at that time, he was way more willing to just work and shut the fuck up and just get on his grind. And then as he got older and he started getting a little more wins, he just stopped giving a fuck. And then once, was it Stephen Thompson who really figured him out? And then with the leg kicks, the constant leg kicks, and then he ended up KOing him with a head kick.
Was it Josh Thompson?
Yeah, it was Josh Thompson.
It was Josh Thompson, yeah. And ever since then, he just stopped wanting to. He's not working with UFC. He's not working with other fighters. It's just about him and his brother and his Cesar Gracie team. Like, it's so disappointing because I think if Nate put in the work everyone knows he could do, I think you're looking at an elite level lightweight fighter.
I agree to an extent. I also think that the UFC has also burned their bridges with Nate, not necessarily Nick, but with Nate, because before the Michael Johnson fight, he was getting paid 20 and 20. He was still on his Ultimate Fighter contract. So they took advantage of him and his lack of business skills and lack of having a manager that was saying you need to pay him. Nate was a draw before McGregor. He wasn't a huge draw, but he was a fan favorite for sure because
100%.
He is, I think, top 3 of performance bonuses of all time in the UFC, easily, maybe tie 1, 2, something like that. So there's no question that he's a fan favorite, and he's controversial as fuck. He's entertaining. He tries to finish fights. He rarely gets finished. He's gotten finished one time, and he's a fucking phenomenal fighter.
But we have always talked about the difference between motivated Diaz and unmotivated Diaz.
Yeah, that's I always give him a benefit of the doubt. I'm like, well, he's not motivated because of this, because I'm a fucking Diaz dick rider. I'll admit
That's true. Okay, no shame about it.
I'll admit it.
But it's true. If he doesn't care about the fight, he'll like mentally not show up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
It's because obviously his brother is a huge inspiration to him and somebody he looks up to. And Nick feels like he's underpaid and all that shit, which if you look at how much Nick was getting paid compared to other fighters, maybe he's not being underpaid. But if you look at the salaries of fighters in general, yes, they're all being underpaid. So I can see where Nick's coming from, saying, no, these promotions are making so much fucking money while they're getting the fucking crumbs at the bottom. So I can see where they're coming from. But at the end of the day, if you're a Diaz fan, you want to watch the fight, it's sad to fucking see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think he would have beat Poirier though?
Yeah, I think he would have. He looked like
Really?
I thought he was in. He looked like he was in really, really good shape.
He was in super fighter shape.
Yeah, and I was like, I was hyped for the fight. I think that ever since Dustin lost to Conor, his mental fortitude has increased significantly. Mm-hmm. So I'm not gonna doubt his mental game at all. And he's won some really, really good fights. But I don't see Dustin's stand up being anything amazing more than what Nate can handle. And I don't see that. I didn't see Dustin's power being good enough to finish Nate or rock Nate. Like, look at what Conor did to Nate, and Conor couldn't finish Nate. And I think also that Nate's cardio was better than Dustin's. And I also thought that in the fight, eventually Nate would get to Dustin mentally. You second, third round, getting slapped around, fourth.
6 slaps in.
Yeah, I think Dustin would start to try to make it a brawl. Like, he'll get mad because Nate has the reach advantage. And if it ever got to the ground, too, I really like Nate on the ground. I like his guard. I think Nate welcomes the ground game. He's not afraid of it. I think he's really, really good at not taking clean shots to the chin, other than those like few that Conor hit him with. Mm-hmm. And I think I always say if he's motivated, I like him in almost every fight. So I like Dustin a lot too. I think it would have been a war. I think it would have went to a decision, but I was leaning towards Nate.
I think Nate would have beat him pretty easy, to be honest with you. That's why I thought it was such a stupid fight for Poirier to take. But why would you take that fight right now? Nate's not even a factor in the belt title. You keep saying you want the belt, and then you take a fight with Nate. Are you just trying to get paid then? I mean, if that's what it is, I'm cool with it. That's fine.
Yeah, I think it was.
But Nate's got all the tools to beat him, right? Because Poirier doesn't have the power to knock Nate out. Nobody does, really. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the ground game, and he doesn't have the kicking game. He's not a kicker. He's a puncher.
Right.
Yeah.
And the only way you beat Nate is you got to kick those legs. That's what Conor did in the second fight.
Right.
You have to kick those legs, kick the shit out of him until he basically is like, oh, this is annoying. I'm gonna let you know what I mean. I'm gonna either stay away from you or I'm gonna try and take you down.
Right.
But I just didn't see a lot of avenue for victory for Poirier. And if he had a loss to Nate, then what happens? Then he's right back in the top 7-ish, trying to crawl back up. It doesn't make any sense.
It was definitely a high risk, maybe only reward is more popularity.
I think it would boost him up a lot quicker.
Sure. If he beats Nate convincingly, then maybe he'd be next line for a title shot. I guess that's true. If he beats anybody else in the top 3, like if he beat Kevin Lee, that's not really gonna make him the next in line because you still got Tony right there.
Yep.
So, what did you think of the Conor Khabib shenanigans? Who did you pick for the fight? Who were you leaning towards?
Oh, dude, this was the hardest fight to pick. And honestly, I thought it was going to be a little more competitive than it was.
Yeah.
I thought, and to Conor's credit, that very first takedown, that might have been the most struggle Khabib has ever had to ever take anybody down. Honestly, if you watch that very first takedown, that was probably the most struggle he'd ever had to actually get a professional fighter down. And then he still did it over and over and over again. And then the third round came around. And I was like, oh, shit. Is Khabib going to stand with him? And then Conor didn't put anything together. No combos. No. I mean, he was one shot, but they had nothing on him. And I think it was just because he was already exhausted from the previous 2 rounds. So I really thought – yeah. No, you're good. I really thought that Conor was going to be able to sting him. But I think those first 2 rounds wore him out to the point where it was a foregone conclusion. And then in regards to the shenanigans, I feel like everybody feels obligated to talk about what a tragedy it is. Like, oh God, this is a terrible thing for MMA. This doesn't look good. This is terrible. And I feel like all the big figures, the Joe Rogans of the world, the Dana Whites, all the fighters, they all want to talk about what a terrible tragedy it is. But, and I don't want to be misrepresented here. Do I want to see something like that every fight? No, fucking course not. But I don't mind seeing that happen every few years.
That's what I like to hear.
You know what I mean? Like I watched it at a Hooters with my buddies.
Oh shit.
Oh man.
Which surprisingly was a really good spot. But it got me out of my chair. I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was tremendous. I didn't have any issues with it. And not to mention it was fighters versus fighter. It wasn't like, with Conor, how could you say what Khabib did was any worse? So Conor threw a fucking 50-pound dolly through a bus window. You know what I mean? Like, how is Khabib jumping after Dylan Dennis any worse? How could it ever be perceived as that? I don't understand it. I'm not saying that I want to see Khabib flying out of the ring every fight, but to see this emotion on Khabib, to see what kind of dude he really is, he's a ride or die motherfucker. He said, I can't deal with this whole camp. I can't deal with fucking Artem. I can't deal with Conor. I can't deal with this little blonde-haired fuck. And I have to do something. And in my book, I'm okay with that. That seems tit for tat in my book. Maybe even should have done a little bit more, given what happened to everybody else.
Yeah, Dawn and I got into quite a bit of a debate in the past few podcast
It was extensive.
episodes.
It was like a 3-episode long debate.
Like, Dawn feels 2 wrongs don't make a right.
And my big thing is that what Conor did felt like it was a staged act to draw attention, which still makes it shitty. I'm not trying to say what Conor did was right at all.
Dawn's convinced there's some conspiracy shit going on.
Khabib and his camp just strike me as shitty people. Maybe not Khabib himself. Khabib's a good person. I feel he might be being used by his manager or other people in power above him. But that's entirely speculation, not the point I was going for. What I'm trying to say is that this was a public event where literally millions were watching. It was advertised as the biggest UFC fight ever, and this is what you do. You're a role model, whether you like it or not. So if you're just going to assault people in public because they said insults to you, what does that really make you?
Yeah, and my counter to that was...
Talk shit, get hit.
Yeah, pretty much. I said that I am a firm believer that there's certain things that you can say that warrants a fight.
There's a line.
Like, I don't think that... I'm not one of those people nowadays to say, oh, no, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words, whatever. Fuck that. If you're saying shit that you're trying to really fuck with somebody's head emotionally and you're taking it to a level that Conor took it, as far as calling his dad a rat and making fun of his family. Like, Khabib, like, he cherishes his dad, like more than anybody that he cares about. That's like Conor... Or it's like Khabib taking shots at Conor's kid or his wife.
Sure.
And it's like there's a line that you don't cross, and Conor crossed it. And he knew what he was doing. He was 100% trying to get in Khabib's head because it's a mental advantage. And if you can get somebody emotional in a fight, look what happened with Otto. So I
suppose the reason I'm not so mad about that is because he was just playing the game, which is a shitty excuse, but he's just playing the game. I don't feel like Khabib's playing the game.
I think he was playing a game, but he took the game to a real life level, and Khabib finished it. I think Khabib used those emotions in a good way and stayed composed because he is a very humble individual and he's very disciplined. And at the end of the fight, when he fucking seen Dylan Dennis still running his mouth, I think all those emotions just like manifested inside of him, and he still had a shit ton of energy still, and he fucking went after him.
To be fair, and not gonna bring up the conspiracy again, but Dylan Dennis wasn't just talking shit, wasn't just running his mouth. He was jabbing with one of Khabib's teammates who was already over in the corner, and the fight ended.
Yeah, and to that I would say Dylan Dennis has a notorious reputation of running his mouth.
Maybe not someone to give the benefit of the doubt to.
So I don't give him any benefit of the doubt. I don't like Dylan Dennis at all. I think he's more of a Conor McGregor coattail rider than Artem is. Honestly. Like, he's fought one MMA fight ever, and he is trying to act like he's this greatest god motherfucker. And it's like, you're really good at jiu-jitsu. Yeah, you're good at your craft.
Doesn't every fighter do that? Isn't that the point?
Not like how Dylan Dennis does it at all.
Sure, Dylan Dennis is an asshole.
So, yeah. I think he deserved the eagle kick.
Fine. Eagle kick. Okay, I'm fine. So, yeah, it's pretty much where our 3-episode argument ended. Just agree to disagree, but whatever.
We were waiting for the hearing to get more information and details and figure out what was happening with that. We both thought it was bullshit that Nevada State Athletic Commission just took half of Khabib's money and they had like no legitimate reason. It's like, we feel that this is enough money to help with everything. It's like, yeah, for paying your fucking yacht, motherfucker, that's $1 million.
Right.
The purse shouldn't even be considered because Khabib signed a contract that said, I'm going to fight Conor for this amount of money. And he did do that.
Yeah.
So pay him his fucking money and then fine him later. That's fine. But you can't hold a man's $2 million. That's the most ridiculous single-sided fucking thing. And they go, oh, well, Conor didn't do anything wrong, so we're not. He gets all his $3 million.
I don't agree with that at all.
But don't think that Dana White and the Nevada Athletic Commission and the UFC as a corporation are not in cahoots together. They're doing. I think this is because this is the way they wanted to do. The Golden Goose got beat. We'll give him his money. We'll make it seem like he's the victim, and then Khabib is just Khabib. And the thing is, I think that I think that jump out of the cage was premeditated. I think he had every single intention of shutting not only McGregor up, but his entire team. Because it wasn't just McGregor's antics, although that's the primary focus. But if you can imagine on Khabib's social media and his emails and at all the gyms, every day you got Dylan Dana saying something. You got Artem saying something. You got the fucking whole country of Ireland saying something to you.
True.
Every fucking day. And then you look at the press conference and he's just like stoic. Now Conor has to do something to liven this press conference up, so he has to overdo it and oversell because exactly because Khabib's underselling everything. But I think that Khabib had every intention of jumping that cage and shutting that entire team up. That's what I think. And you know what? Again, okay, I'm all right with that. Because if anything, it shows us that Khabib is a real motherfucker. Whether you like his realness or not, he is a real fucking dude. And if you look at every fight before this one, he's been nothing but humble, nothing but respectful, never had a bad thing to say about anybody. True. I think he just grew up different, man. And you don't do that to guys like him.
Yeah. You don't fuck with Dagestani people. That's for damn sure.
That's
growing up in fucking Ireland. No matter where you grew up, Dagestan's like one of the hardest places to grow up.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the reasons why I want to make sure that it's clear that I don't hate Khabib or think he's a bad person, because the way he talks about the sport and the fans and the reason he does it, I mean, you can tell he's a good person.
Yeah, it like almost justifies it.
Almost.
And I like how you were bringing up Conor, how he feels like he has to take these press conferences to certain levels. Because me personally, I think he, in his own head, he thinks that he has to one-up himself every single time. And I think Conor McGregor, the human being, is not a bad person. But the notorious Conor McGregor, the character that he's built, is turning into a bad controversial. I get it, you're notorious, you're doing these things, but he's almost like blended the two to the point where that's just who he is now. And the whole just shenanigans trying to take things to another level each and every time. Eventually, that shit you're gonna lose your fans. You're gonna have your Dick Rider fans that'll be with you to the day you die. But as far as traditional fans that like just like the MMA aspect of fighting and saying who's the better fighter, a lot of those people, you may rub them off the wrong way.
Yep. You're gonna end up losing it.
Right. So who knows? I don't know. I don't think he deserves a rematch immediately.
I don't either.
I'm sure monetarily wise, that's what the UFC is going to want.
Stupid stuff.
But I want to see El Kakui versus Khabib. That shit needs to fucking happen.
Yeah, for sure.
For the fifth time, schedule the fight and let it happen. I agree, man. You that is the only fight. Stop talking about a GSP. Stop talking about a rematch. You have to, and frankly, Tony Ferguson looked incredible.
It's true.
Considering his knee injury.
Yeah.
To come back and beat up. And I think Pettis looked the best he's ever looked.
I agree.
He was so ready for that fight because I think he knew that if he doesn't win this fight, he's never going to see a title again. I think that was the most prepared Pettis has ever been. He looked incredibly good, like in good shape. He was ready to go. He gave Ferguson the best fight that he could possibly give him, and still realistically got the fuck beat out of him. Minus those two offensive attacks. I don't understand what everyone was watching, because Pettis had two moments in the fight
I think
where he tagged Ferguson. It might have just been that one sequence, right?
Yeah, I think it might have just been like the energy that Pettis was bringing, because he looked like he was having fun just hanging and banging, even though, like you said, he only got the two.
It's probably because he dropped Tony, and Tony necessarily didn't drop him with one punch. He just overwhelmed him with strikes. But at the end of the day, you look at who was getting their ass kicked, and Pettis was getting his ass kicked. At the end of the fucking second round, when Tony got dropped, at the end of that round, Tony was on top of him laying punches, and Pettis got saved by the bell.
So another thing to address. Do we agree with the towel throw? The Colin fight?
Oh, from Duke Rufus on the towel, supposedly because he broke his hand? The biggest line of horse shit I've ever heard in my life. 100%. Now,
You don't
to
agree
be
with
fair, I think I do agree with it. Duke Rivers should have told the town, but they shouldn't have said that it was for his broken hand that he probably didn't even know was broken until whenever.
Yeah.
I think as a trainer, because like Duke Rufus is like a dad to those kids, to him and his brother. Anybody watching that fight could go, "Oh fuck, dude, I can't watch another round of this." I think that's why the towel got thrown in, and he probably told Pettis, "Oh well, your hand, I could just tell you weren't throwing it right because your hand's broken. I didn't want to see you do any more damage to it." But how many times, time and time again, do people fight with broken fingers and limbs and finish the whole entire fight?
Exactly.
This was a circumstance of Duke Rufus looking at his son and saying, "Man, I can't watch this anymore." I mean, the guy was getting bludgeoned to death.
True.
And you're not going to stop Tony. Who's ever stopped Tony Ferguson?
Yeah, exactly. And it shows that Pettis just doesn't have a championship heart, a warrior's heart. Because any other person who wants a title as bad as Tony does, or look at Uriah Faber back in the day. He broke both of his fucking hands, and he was throwing elbows the rest of the fight. Like, if you want it bad enough, you're gonna find a way. I'm not saying a fucking broken hand doesn't justify a loss or just doesn't justify a stoppage, but if you don't want it as bad as these other fighters do, and if you don't want it as bad as them, you're not gonna be a champion.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
So that's just where that's fucking at. Duke Rufus did the right thing because as a coach, you gotta make sure you're doing what's best for your fighter.
Yeah, he asked him, "Do you think you can fight the way you're supposed, or the way you want to fight?" And Pettis said no, and threw the towel.
Yeah, it just seems like some fuckery afoot to me.
Some fuckery.
Right. Well, let's get back to the UFC 230. There's a few fights on here that I was like doing a little bit of due diligence on that I kind of want to talk about. I was looking at the prelims, and the prelim main event, Lando Venata versus Matt. Pretty sure it's Fravioli, something like that. I looked at the odds on this fight, and Lando is a 3-1 favorite, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, 3-1 favorite, and I'm not necessarily sure if that's the best thing. If you're trying to make some money, I think that may be the best fight to get at like an underdog pick, because Lando, we all know what Lando brings to the table. Mm-hmm. Like he's an exciting striker. Every single one of his fights, he's brought like a performance bonus. Mm-hmm. But he gets carried away in those drag him out fights, and he doesn't necessarily fight to win. He just fights to fight.
Sure.
And that's how he's lost his past few fights, because you got those wrestlers that are
competing
to win the fight. And Matt has a good ground game. And he was on the Tuesday Night Contender Series. He pretty much showed that he has an over right hand in there, and he's composed. And he also, the person he was fighting had really, really good stand-up. Now, I don't think it's as good as Lando's, but he definitely had kicks and shit. You could tell it was fucking with Matt. Like, he ate a few liver kicks, and you could see that it hurt him in the first round. But he was composed enough to recover, and he took him down, and he had his really, really good submission game. So I don't understand why Lando's like that huge of a favorite. Maybe because
maybe just name, or
I think it's just his name. If I'm being honest, I don't think it's necessarily skill.
Is Matt Frivola from the East Coast?
Yeah, he's a New Yorker.
That makes perfect sense because his nickname's the fucking Steamroller.
Yeah.
Matt the Steamroller Frivola.
That's nice.
Holy shit! I think you're right. I think you're dead on. I think Lando is an exceptional stand-up fighter, but as we've seen in his last 2 or 3,
his last 5, he's 1-3-1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dalton. I don't know. I think you're probably right. And if we know anything, if you have a good wrestling game in the UFC, you're gonna win way more than you're gonna lose for sure.
I usually bank on the wrestlers. Except for
it's smart.
You fucking liar.
Except for Khabib.
I'll root for Ben Askren. That's for damn sure.
Ooh, I can't wait to see that guy.
The blanket.
For real. Who do you think he's gonna fucking end up fighting in his first fight?
If it's not Khabib, I'm riding.
It's not Khabib. It's definitely not gonna be Khabib.
Get my pitchfork.
Well, if he tried to pick a fight with pretty much every top level,
that's true.
Yeah.
Welterweight.
I
don't know. I'm guessing GSP would get up for a fight with Ben Askren. And then that'd make a lot of money as well.
I heard Ariel Helwani say that as well, and he was saying that because the UFC does not want to give GSP another title shot after what he did with the Bisping fight. And this fight could be a high-level fight. It's really competitive, and it's like a legacy fight for GSP to prove that he is the best welterweight in his era. But I don't know I think Ben has to win a fight, and the fans of the UFC have to see him compete at a high level before GSP will accept the fight, personally. But we'll see. I don't know. I heard that he was supposed to fight somebody in the top 5 of the welterweight division, and the only person that's like clapped back with Ben Askren that's in the top 5 is Darren Till. But I hope, for Darren Till's sake, I hope that he doesn't take that fight, because I think you just lost to Tyron Woodley, and you're gonna accept a fight with arguably somebody who's just as good, if not a better wrestler than Tyron, and he's Tyron's training partner.
Yeah. His
striking's not near the level of Tyron's,
Sure.
but Ben doesn't pretend that he's a striker. He knows exactly what his game plan is going to be. So I don't think, after what we saw with Darren Till getting dropped, I don't know if his head was still off foggy after getting dropped, but you could tell he did not have that good of submission defense at all. He kind of didn't really fight the hands or anything like that, fight the positioning. So I think that could be a rough comeback fight for Till. But who knows? Darren Till's a big motherfucker.
It's true.
That was the only thing that came to mind, was that Till's size, but it didn't. But Tyron's a tiny welterweight, height-wise. I mean, he might be as wide as he is tall, but he's not a tall guy. And he was able to deal with Darren Till's size pretty easily. Askren's going to make, like you said, he's going to make there's no secrets about his game. If he gets close enough to clinch in, he's going to put him down. He's probably going to smother him and put him in that Askren blanket like he does everybody. What I can't figure out is, why would the UFC willingly get rid of one of the most dynamic fighters of all time ever for a guy who arguably has a kind of a boring style? Like, he's not like, you got Demetrius, who's the best mixed martial artist in the world, like in terms of just the ability to combine every bit of martial arts together. You have this guy, and then you go, oh, come over here, dude. Let's, you want to lay on some guys? Like, I can't figure it out.
Well, I think there's a few factors. I think this is right after the Khabib fight, who just showed the world how good wrestling can be and how exciting it can actually be. And 2, DJ hasn't been getting paid, so he wants money. 3, they might get rid of the division entirely
because of his absence.
Sure, yeah.
And not be. But here's the one factor, and if it's for DJ to get paid, hey man, I'm totally good with that. I want him to get paid. He deserves it. He's got nothing to prove, his legacy, all that stuff. I know that his coach, Matt Hume, works for One Championship.
Yeah, he's like a VP.
And Bibiano Fernandez is also a training partner who happens to be the featherweight championship at One. So it's conceivable but this was DJ's call. DJ could have asked for it.
Yeah, DJ.
And if that's the case, that's fine.
He did. He asked his manager, and his manager started to work it out.
So it was okay. So if it's on DJ, then that's wonderful. Yeah. I would just be concerned that the UFC would be leveraging certain aspects because DJ's difficult to work with. You know what I mean? So if these trades are going to happen, and if you look at the big 3 sports with trades, these guys are under contract. It's not like they have a choice if they get traded.
Right.
If you play for the Red Wings and they send you down to Tampa Bay, you don't get to go, nah, I'm not going to do that. You have to go play for Tampa Bay. So is it going to be a situation with fighters who are under contract to where if we say DC, you got to go to Bellator because we're taking Matt Mitrione back, and you have no choice in the matter?
Right.
Is that the route that they're going to take?
I think this route, they both fighters they wanted it. Like, Ben Askren was retired with One because he said the only way he's coming back is if he fights the best of the best. And obviously at the time he thought the UFC would never sign him because of the beef that him and Dana had. So
right.
And Mighty Mouse, I think that, I mean, you look at his 11 fucking title defenses, and it's unbelievable. He broke the record. He's done everything he's had to do in the UFC. But the whole time, Dana does his little subliminal disses towards him all the time, saying he doesn't sell, he's not a popular fighter, he doesn't deserve pay-per-view points, and Mighty Mouse is sitting over here like, what the fuck? I'm the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
I'm doing flying arm bars and shit. Yeah, what the hell you want me to do?
And my promoter is dogging me. And Mighty Mouse, we know that he's not a trash talker. We know he doesn't like that part of the game, and Dana loves that part of the game.
True.
So I think that's a huge aspect of One Championship. If you notice when Mighty Mouse lost to Henry Cejudo, he was almost relieved in a way. Like, he wasn't fucking itching to get that rematch. He was like,
that's weird.
I'm gonna make sure I'm healthy before I get the rematch. I want to recover in that. And when you're not a champion, you're not part of the championship clause in the contracts where you can't do whatever you want. If he was still a champion, it would have been a lot harder to trade him. So
that's true. That's a good point.
And also with One Championship, it's in China, and their needs as far as what they want to see what's entertaining to them is completely different than America. Like America, we like to see these fucking rivalries and people talking shit and these back and forth, just little press conference shit and all that. But one championship, the fans there, they just want to see competition. And that's where Mighty Mouse is going to thrive, because he's not going to have all this media pressure that he has with the UFC. So they all know how good he is, so they're going to face him off with some of the best people they possibly have, which I'm sure they have some good people, but obviously it's not the caliber of the UFC.
Yeah.
And he's going to get paid way more there, which is awesome. So I think it's a win for Mighty Mouse. It's a win for one championship because Ben Askren was retired with them. So,
right.
And obviously Ben Askren, it's a win for him because he's in the UFC now finally.
Right.
And it looks like it's a win for the UFC because Dana White was like, the reason why he didn't want Ben Askren, his excuse the whole time was he's a boring fighter. But we all know it was more than that. It was because Ben Askren was running his mouth against Dana. Mm-hmm. And Dana he's the best promoter of all time, but he holds grudges. Sometimes he lets his ego get in the way. But it looks like Ben Askren's bringing a lot of buzz to his name. He's coming out swinging. And I fucking love it. I hope it works out for all of them. I hope Ben Askren comes to the UFC and he proves that he is as good as he is. If not, if he comes in and just gets smoked by somebody, then it's going to look like a bad trade for the UFC. And it's
you're right.
Fuck Ben Askren. I think Mighty Mouse is we know what he's going to give one championship. There's no way he's losing.
Yeah, how could he?
No fucking clue. I know he's not going to fight the champion, obviously, because you were saying that that's his friend there. So I don't even think he's necessarily worried about that. I think he just wants to get paid.
And if that's the case, I'm more power to you, man. Yeah, you deserve it.
He's got 11 championships.
Yeah, man.
And then another fight on Back to 230 is Lehman Good versus Ben Saunders. And Good is another guy. He's a New York fighter. He was the Bellator welterweight champion for a minute there until Ben Askren had something to say about that. And then he's a fucking 6-1 favorite over Ben Saunders. And I think, me personally, I think that he's better in almost every aspect of MMA than Ben is. Like, Ben has lost quite a few fights, and he's 2-3 in his past 5, and he's been finished every single time he's lost.
Yeah, he hasn't been looking good lately.
Yeah, I like Ben because I've heard him on Joe Rogan's Experience a few times, and he's a guy under Eddie Bravo, so I'm a fan of Edgy Bra and all of his fighters.
Yep.
But it's not. I think this is a fucking hometown fight for Lehman. It's gonna give the fans something to cheer about early on. He's a New Yorker. He's gonna have a bunch of fucking fans there. And it may be a fight for Ben to go to a different division or possibly retire. He's old. He's
getting up there. Yep.
That makes sense. The hometown fight just feed Good.
Lehman came in, like everyone thought he was going to be, top tier, top 5, and he didn't turn out to be as good as we thought he was going to be as well. I think Ben could sneak a submission off if it gets down there. However, Lyman's takedown defense is really, really good. So the only way Ben Saunders is really going to win is if it's by submission, in my opinion. Although he has good knees. Ben Saunders does have good knees. And he did finish 1 or 2 guys with the knees in the clinch. But I mean,
who it was.
I wouldn't be shocked if Killer B got something going. Plus, he's like been in and out of a lot of fight promotions. And that could attribute to why he's getting finished as well. He's just got too many fights under his belt.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, Lehman definitely came in with a lot of hype. He's 1-1 in the UFC. His first fight in the UFC, he got a round 2 KO, and then his second fight was a split decision loss. But it was fight of the night. But I mean, it wasn't against any crazy notable fighter. It was against Zaleski Santos. I don't even know who the fuck that guy is.
Enough said.
So we'll see. I mean, I like Ben Saunders, so I would be happy for him if he won, but it's not. I don't think it's trending in that direction.
There's a minus 600 for a reason.
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with that, unfortunately.
Who knows? This is a fight game. Anything can happen.
And then did you see Sajara Eubanks is still on the card?
Yeah, I would literally just looking at that, but she's fighting Roxanne Modafferi. So Eubanks, if she does this right and beats Modafferi like she should, then she should at least if she has like a knockout or a good submission over Modafferi, at least you can justify a title fight maybe in the 125.
Right.
Yeah, the 125 it's not stacked at all. So.
No, it's not, unfortunately. It could be though, because a lot of those 35s could fight at 25 pretty easy.
Mm-hmm. She definitely. I was surprised when I looked up all her accolades because she's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and she's a fucking 7-time IBJJF world champion. I did not know that. And also, she's already beat Roxanne Modafferi in the Tough House. I don't know if I don't.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that. So, I think this is gonna be a relatively easy fight for her. I like Roxanne because she's a sweetheart. She's a fucking Naruto fan. So
she's a weirdo.
Yeah. To put it bluntly, she's like Dalton's kind of girl.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
I'll take it.
But she is nice, but she's definitely like she's out there. And Eubanks looks like she just looks angry right now. I thought it was funny when they did the stare downs. She shook Dana White's hand twice. Like, you're running your mouth to Dana and then all that, but then like I think if you're gonna do that, you gotta like back it up. But at the same time, you're in a tough spot with that. So I get it. So hopefully she fucking like you said, she wins, she finishes Roxanne, and then she fucking has a really good post fight interview to bring her stock up. But at the end of the day, I still agree with the decision to have like Joanna versus Valentina. I think that's way more of an
for sure.
high profile fight.
100%. Yeah. Not even a question.
I was so happy to see that.
And then let's just go to the Israel Adesanya versus Derek Brunson. So you said you don't like Israel. Is it because of his is his mentality, his swagger, his confidence?
Is personality too much?
It's 100% based on his personality. I think that I want to be clear about this. I'm going to be rooting for Derek Brunson, but I think Ace Adesanya is gonna win. Israel's gonna win this fight, in my opinion. If Derek comes out with some crazy Hail Mary style punches and hits him and knocks him out, I'll be happy. But Adesanya is clearly the superior fighter, in my opinion, at least on the feet.
Yeah,
I know Derek is a wrestler, so he can make this a boring one and just drag him down.
Right.
But there's just something about Israel that just rubs me the wrong way. I mean, I'd listened to the whole interview he had with Joe Rogan.
Okay.
And like I'm thinking like halfway through going, this guy, I couldn't be friends with this guy. Like there's just something about him that rubs me the wrong way. Like I wouldn't want to be invited to have a drink with him. I wouldn't want to go to his daughter's birthday party. Like there's just something about him when I'm like, I'm just gonna avoid that guy. He just kind of bothers me.
He is a cocky motherfucker.
That's true.
That's for sure. He's full of himself. And it reminds me of Conor when
on his
he
way
was
up
on the rise. And I like his fighting style. His fighting style reminds me of a younger version of John Jones. Not nearly as polished as John Jones, but his stand-up is high level.
Creative. Yeah, it's good.
And after his amazing performance against Brad Tavares, I'm on the train. I'm on the fucking hype train. Because I thought Brad Tavares was way too early of a matchup against him, and he showed that his takedown defense is really, really good. He won all 5 rounds decisively.
I agree 100%. He's also lean. He has lots of levers.
And he's strong.
These tall lean guys are so good at using their length as levers against people trying to take him down.
Yeah, he definitely, like, those lengthy guys have the advantage for sure.
Yeah, as a short guy with T-Rex arms, I think that's just straight up cheating.
But I agree with you. I think Derek Brunson has the tools that are necessary to win this fight. He's a 2-time All-American Division II wrestler. Not Division I, but that's still a good accolade.
Get the fuck out of here. That's legit.
Yeah,
so for sure.
I think that he has fallen in love with the knockout, though. If you look at the past 6-7 fights that he's had, excluding the Anderson Silva fight because you're fighting a legend, so he's like starstruck. Yeah. But like every other fight, he was trying to get a knock on the first round. Half of them were successful. The other half, he either got knocked out or he just lost decisions. And I hope he's not coming into this emotional, because every time you see him staring down Israel, every time he talks about Israel, you can just hear how angry or how much dislike he has for them. And when you hear Israel, it's just like it's like a confidence thing opposed to just how much he doesn't like him. And I think Israel is going to be more composed, but at the same time, I don't know. I am one of those people that I have. How do I put this?
You have a lot of stake in the mental game.
Yes, I
do. About
do.
80%, I'd say.
Yeah, I will fucking talk to Dalton about my predictions like a week before the fight, and I'll think I know exactly what I'm talking about, and then I see the fucking stare downs, and I'm like, nope, I fucking take away everything I said. Like when Holly and this is when Holly and Ronda first fought, I straight up told Dalton, I was like, dude, I think Holly's gonna win this fight, and I never let him live that fucking down.
Yeah, of course.
But I guess we'll see, because I'm kind of nervous because Derek Brunson looked composed in their latest stare down. Yeah. And it almost looked like Israel was like
bothered by that.
Yeah. So I wonder I think if Derek Brunson comes with the right game plan and he tries to take Israel down, he does not go for the head hunting style that he has, he can win the fight. But nothing is trending in that direction to tell me that he's going to do that.
Yeah.
The thing about Brunson is he overcommits to everything. He he throws it so hard that he literally throws the entire body off balance. Like, he doesn't care about timing, he doesn't care about precision, doesn't care about planting his feet and putting the power down. He just, it's like a football player trying to tackle a running back. You just run as hard as you can and throw your entire body into somebody. And that's how he got knocked out a couple fights ago. I can't remember who he was fighting.
Whitaker. Oh, Jacare knocked him out his last fight, and then Whitaker.
Yeah, and then Whitaker before that.
Yeah.
Whitaker did the same thing to him.
Yeah, Derek Brunson.
Maybe that was a few fights ago, but nonetheless, I like Brunson. If he can get, like you said, Nick, just compose your ass down, pick your shots, wrestle if you have to, and I think you can win.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that's going to be one of the fights of the night. I think that's, for me personally, I'm excited for that fight. I'm excited to see if Israel wins, to see his stack grow, see what's next for him.
Yeah.
Because the middleweight division, if he beats Derek Brunson, I mean, who's maybe like a Luke Rockhold maybe next? That would be a crazy fight.
Interesting. That'd be very interesting because Rockhold's an enormous 185er.
Yeah, for sure.
And he'll stand up with them. But
yes, he would.
Luke Rockhold does not have the greatest chin in the world now. And I fucking love Luke Rockhold. I think he has the tools to beat everybody in that division, but he's too full of himself. He keeps his chin up, and it's burned him way too many times for me to think that he can come back. So,
I don't know.
We'll
It'd
see.
be interesting.
Yeah, I'm jealous of that dude's bod too. I can't even lie. he's Mr. Steal Your Girl for sure. But
it's like everything is perfectly shaped and proportioned.
Yeah, he was sculpted by Michelangelo or something.
Yeah, I think the one person that's gonna derail Israel's hype train for sure will be Yoel Romero.
Oh God.
Oh, I can see that for sure.
Throw him out the octagon.
Yeah, I think he'll throw him out the octagon.
That'd be rough.
Another middleweight fight is like the one I'm really, really excited for is Weidman. He's fighting in his hometown again, and he's fighting Jacare. But I wanted to see the Rockhold rematch because I was actually leaning towards Weidman just because of Luke's confidence. But that being said, I'm also kind of nervous for this matchup because Jacare, it's a short notice fight for him. But as good as Weidman is on the ground, Jacare's jiu-jitsu is probably the best or top 3 in UFC, bar none. Like, his accolades, his championships that he's had in Brazilian jiu-jitsu are ridiculous, and he's strong as fuck. True. So we seen what happened when Weidman got mounted by Luke, and Luke has an amazing ground game as well. But I think Jacare is just up there. I think if Weidman gets the takedown, I don't think he's necessarily going to be in a bad position. But if Jacare tags Weidman, which Weidman gets tagged in his fights, and he gets on top of Weidman, it could be a bad night. But I'm rooting for Weidman. I really want him to win. I think it'd be exciting to see him versus Robert Whitaker. But we'll see. What are you thinking about that fight? Who are you leaning towards?
I like Weidman, like, personally. I like him a lot. I think he's a good dude. I don't think he's got the tools to beat Souza right now. Jacare, because he is a jiu-jitsu guy, but he's got a good striking game. Not great, but he has a very good striking game that complements his ground game once he gets you there. So he's really good at being tricky and setting you up for these strikes and then getting down and getting on the ground and then submitting you. I got like you, Nick. I don't know if Weidman can deal with Jacare's top game. Now, if Weidman chooses to take him down and wrestle him, if he can stay on top and not get caught in something silly, I think he could win the fight, but I don't think he's going to win the fight standing up.
Yeah, I think that Jacare has more power than Weidman for sure, and like you were saying that he has a really good, like, his stand-up game is underrated, and I think that's the case for a lot of people that have really good ground games because their opponents are going to be subconsciously the whole time thinking about a takedown or thinking about if there's just jiu-jitsu, them pulling guard. So that leads to their chin being way more susceptible. That's like what Khabib did with Conor. The Conor's worried about the takedown. Khabib throws the overhand right, catches him right on the fucking button.
That's another big factor.
So I don't know. Here's the thing, though, because Weidman has really good wrestling. So he may be like, okay, try to take me down. See how that works out for you. So we'll see. I think the thing that worries me about Weidman is he gets tagged. Like, against Calvin, he got tagged and he got dropped. But he was composed enough, and Kelvin does not have the ground game to do anything with Weidman's caliber of ground, his wrestling and all that. So he got back up, and then he took Kelvin down and submitted Kelvin. Granted, that was like a year, or I think it was a year ago, but his thumb was fucking injured. This is his first fight back since then. So I'm leaning towards Weidman, but that's more emotional than
you want Weidman to win.
Yeah, I want Weidman to win.
You've been burned by that in the past, though.
Yes, dude. I get burned by my emotions all the fucking time with my picks. Speaking of emotions, that's why I picked DC in every single fight that he's been in.
That is one thing about this fight card is the main event and the co-main. There's no like big rivalry between them.
No
it's like
animosity.
a friendly rival
Yeah.
almost. And I think that's pretty refreshing, especially after, the antics.
Yeah, it's definitely a breath of fresh air after the fucking huge, intense rivalry with Conor and Khabib.
Yeah, seeing Weidman do the alligator chomp, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
100%.
And we already talked about DC and Lewis, but I mean, fuck. I was trying to look at some of Derek Lewis's other fights to see. There's just something about him that's like he takes a beating for so long, and then all of a sudden there's like a switch that I don't know if it's because of how he was raised or his past. Like I don't know if you guys know, like he's been in jail in the past, and he was definitely trying not to be a successful person in society, like in general, like based on his past. Like he grew up with an abusive dad who used to smack him and his mom around, like shit like that, and it definitely didn't like lead to like a good upbringing.
Sure.
But he's inspirational in the fact that he's turned his life around, and he's also, you can see how calm and relaxed he is as far as just being an individual. Like he's not like an angry person no more.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Like he's somebody that's like found his outlet. And obviously his outlet's fucking fighting other people professionally, making money
them in
for
the face,
it.
yeah.
And he's just so big and so strong. So I think the first round is going to be the scariest round for DC. But the threat does not go away just because Derek Lewis has heart. He could be exhausted, and it just takes one short punch.
Yep.
He doesn't have to fucking wing his punches or have perfect form, a perfect technique for him to fucking knock people out. He's just fucking huge. It's not going to take a DC is going to have proper form, or like hit Derek in the perfect spot to drop Derek. Like Derek Lewis is going to,
and he probably wouldn't drop him.
Yeah, no, Derek Lewis, like I don't think he's ever been dropped, and he's taken some bombs. He's fought some big motherfuckers, but at the same time, he hasn't fought like
someone as technical as Cormier.
He hasn't fought somebody who I feel is like somebody I'll be like, okay, this guy's gonna have the right game plan. Except his last fight. His last fight, he looked like he was about to lose that fight, and then he fucking won it. So it's hard to like.
Who knows?
Yeah, he has that. He definitely has that what if factor.
That's true.
And I guess that's the key.
What other heavyweight carries their knockout power throughout the entire fight? Like I think that's really what separates Derek Lewis is that dude. It doesn't matter how tired he is, or even if he's playing possum, he's really not as tired as he's leading on to be.
Yeah.
That guy carries that power from start to finish of the fight.
You're right.
And then he might have to go to the hospital even if he wins afterwards. But that dude is going to hit you as hard as possible regardless of his energy level. So I think Daniel Cormier is 39 right now.
Yeah, he's about to be 40 in March.
And he's, to his credit, I think he's only been knocked out by Jones, right? The head kick?
Yep, that's it. It's his only losses are to John Jones. He's beat everybody else. If John Jones wasn't in the picture, this guy would be like known
undeniably.
The GOAT.
The best. The GOAT.
So we'll see. I think I'm going for Derek Lewis only because I like him so much.
That's fair.
I think DC is going to be the first person to finish Derek Lewis, but I think it's going to be very close. It's going to be closer than what people expect.
Yes. Yeah. I think you're probably right. But if we're talking multiple rounds, I mean, how could you not favor Cormier? And he might wrestle the fuck out of him too. I mean,
that's
he might literally throw no punches. Yeah, he might throw no punches and just wrestle the fuck out of him for 5 rounds.
Well, he predicted an armbar, so he goes.
Right.
He said.
Yeah, right.
He said Lewis benches people off of him. He benches me off. I'm taking an arm with me. So we'll see, but it's been fun talking to you, man. It's been good catching up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. I always like talking to you guys, man. And I'm sure we'll communicate through the interwaves as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. So where can everybody find you at?
Right now, you can find me at the MMA Reaction at gmail.com if you got a question, comment, concern. Or you can hit me up on my Instagram page, which is the_MMA_reaction. And then I'm pretty good about monitoring that, so I'll answer right away.
Awesome. All right, man. Hopefully next time we can jump on your podcast or something.
Yeah.
100%. I'm getting closer.
Awesome.
Getting closer. I appreciate you guys very much. And let me know, man. You know I'm always going to be there.
Yeah, no problem. All right, bro. Take care.
Thanks so much. You too, man.
See you, man.
See ya.